I got that cake.
This is a Cakebuzz exclusive.
Let me cake it. I got that cake. Let me cake it. What's your drink? Let me cake it. What's your drink? Let me cake it. What's your drink? Let me cake it. What's your let me cake it. What's your drink? Let me cake it. What's your
Time I got into junior high school, me and my little friends, we'd get together, and some of them were experimenting with weed, and we'd smoke weed together at school and trying to hide from the principals and all that kind of stuff. But back home at the home life, I'm still paying attention to the cooking that my mom is cooking. So I'm thoroughly into this cooking now. So I'm really able to pay attention and see that she's making these 4, 5, 6 course meals with ham and turkey, collard greens, neck bones, chicken, macaroni and cheese, potato salad, dressing and gravy. My stepfather, he was making things like beef tongue, brain. He was cooking brain and eggs because the brain had the kind of consistency of egg, and he was a naval chef, and he was an excellent cook, and he was cooking some crazy stuff. My mom was cooking good stuff, so I'm paying attention to everything. I'm like, whoa, the food is getting good, and I'm going over to my friend's house when we go out to play, and I'm eating some of their food from their parents, and so I usually turn down the food at my friend's house because the food, it just really wasn't that good. And I'm noticing this in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So around the 8th grade, we were living in Lenox in the 70s, about 78, 77, 78. So all my older brothers and sisters are getting older. My mom is getting tired of raising kids. So my older brothers and sisters have all graduated from high school. So it was just me and my other baby sister left. We were the last two in the late 70s. So my mom decided, in order to get all the rest of these kids, because she used to take in cousins and uncles, and she'd have everybody coming to her house. She was the Mother Teresa of her family, and she's trying to help everybody. And it's really taxing our family. It's really a burden on our family because we got a small house, sometimes a 3-bedroom house. I think the biggest that I've always remembered that we've had at least a 3-bedroom house. But you got 3 boys, me and my brothers sharing a room, my 3 sisters sharing a room, and then my mom had her own room. And now she's inviting in cousins and stuff who got kicked out or who are not doing well. She's inviting everybody in, and she's cooking for everybody, and she's trying to help everybody, and it's really taxing our family because it's not a family life anymore. Everything is shared. The bathrooms is shared. The kitchen is shared. The food is shared. There's no leftovers. And this was a constant battle all throughout my younger life. As a little boy growing up, as a teenager growing up. And I loved my mom to death, but I really disliked that she did this because when I would go over to my auntie's house, her sister, one of her baby sisters, she didn't run her household that way. She had 2 kids, and I think she was married, and they each had their own separate room, and my auntie was not allowing a bunch of other cousins and nephews and from other families to come in and trying to help them and trying to play Mother Teresa to them. She was sticking to her 2 kids and made sure that they had the best of everything, and mentally and physically. And that's exactly what we didn't have. We had the basics, we had the minimals physically, and we had the minimal emotionally because my mother was gone working all the time. There was no father in the house. So I had my big brothers in the house and their friends coming over, and then some of my older cousins coming over, and everybody is just crazy. People are doing drugs. There was prostitution. I mean, I seen everything, and you're talking about early 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years of age. So my mom, was seeing that this just wasn't good for the family, so she kicked out everybody. And the way she did this was, we lived in a house and this was in the late 70s. This was about 78, 77, 78. The house that we lived in, she knew she was going to have a difficult time trying to get everybody out of the house. So what she did was she packed up me and my baby sister, and she flew us to Chicago to her first cousin. And we flew to Chicago, and we lived with her first cousin in a very beautiful house in Chicago, a huge house in Chicago. This house probably had at least 6-7 bedrooms and a basement and a backyard and a garage, and it was nothing that I had ever really seen or grew up in. So we flew there, and we were living with her, and my mom was still in LA. And so I later found out that what she did was she went and talked to the landlord, told the landlord, here's all the people that's living in the house, my older brothers and stuff, you can collect the rent from them. Then she flew to Chicago, and she left them in the house. That was it. So it was my 2 older brothers, my older sister, my older brother, my second older sister, and my second older brother, and several other cousins, and my mom's baby sister, she was in the same age bracket as those other brothers and sisters. So from what I found out, all those people were left at that house in the late 70s, 78, 77. We're living in Chicago. We're in Chicago for about almost a year, 6, 7, 8 months. And then we got word that one of my cousins got killed. So my mom started trying to make arrangements for us to get back to Chicago. And within a week's time, we got another phone call that my stepfather had got killed. And he was like my father. My real father was not in my life. He chose not to be in my life for whatever reason. And my stepfather got killed. He was the guy that raised me. He took me in. He stayed with my mom. This was a real man. This man loved my mom, stayed with my mom, and she already had 5 kids. And when he got with her, they had a baby together, which is my baby sister, Tanya. And he was a real man. He went to work. He disciplined us. He loved us. He cooked for us. So when he got killed, and I realized that, I was in the 8th grade. When I realized that, I was really, really hurt. So my mom is scrambling around trying to find a way to get us to Chicago. She doesn't have a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of people to call on for help to get money. So it probably took about at least a week for her to scramble up the money to get us back home. Now, she had the money to get us out there by flight. It was so hard for her at this time. We ended up taking a bus from Chicago to LA. It was a 3-day ride, and it was one of the most terrible experiences in my life to ride on a bus, Greyhound bus, for 3 days. And my mother was scared because she was telling us about how the bus had to travel through all these mountain passes, and the weather was bad. It was snow some days, it was rain some days, and she said that how she used to look out the bus and she'd see the cliffs and everything as he traveled through all these different states. I don't know if it was Colorado, all the states between Chicago and California. She said he had to travel through. So that was a real terrible, terrible experience for us. Then when we get back to LA, we're getting ready to attend 2 funerals. My cousin's funeral and my stepfather's funeral. I went to my cousin's funeral, but I could not go to my stepfather's funeral because I just could not see him in a casket. That was really hurtful. When we got back to LA, my mom doesn't have a lot of money, so everybody is split up. My older sister Cheryl has her own apartment. My other brothers and sisters, I don't know where they are. And my mom's baby sister had an apartment, a little house. So my mother and my baby sister Tanya went to live with her sister, and she told me to go live with my older sister Cheryl. And as I stayed with Cheryl, I had a lot of questions about the Bible. She was a Bible student. She taught me, the Bible. She was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I had been to all these other churches all over the place. First Church of Christ, this church, Baptist church, and I had tons of questions, and nobody could answer my questions. Nobody could take me to the Bible and show me how to find answers to my questions. I had a lot of cousins and relatives that got killed and that died. I wanted to know where they were. I wanted to know what was happening, and my sister answered all of these questions. This was in the 8th grade. these different churches. I had never been to a Kingdom Hall where Jehovah's Witnesses go. My sister took me to the Kingdom Hall. The first time I stepped into the Kingdom Hall, I heard the lesson, and I knew that that was the truth of the matter. That was absolutely the truth, and I was very convinced that Jehovah's Witnesses was practicing the necessary type of religion, if you want to call it, or the way of life that God wants us to practice to get back to paradise earth, which Adam and Eve lost. So I kept those experiences, I kept that knowledge that she gave me. I graduated from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. I was in high school at this time. My mother found a house. It was a 3-bedroom house. It was by the 105 freeway, where the 105 freeway is now. It didn't used to be there when we lived there. So she got this house. A lot of my older brothers and sisters came back home to live with us. It was a 3-bedroom house, so I ended up having my own bedroom. My baby sister T had her own bedroom, and my mom had her bedroom. But things kept happening, so one of my older sisters, she came back home. So she stayed in the room with my sister. My 2 older brothers, for some reason, they came back home. So they're living in my bedroom now, and I'm in the 7th grade. No, I'm in the 9th grade going into the 10th grade. So now I got my older brothers that are sharing a bedroom with me. Now we got 3 beds in this room, 1 bed and a bed with a bunk bed. And this is just not healthy for me trying to go to high school.
I got that K.
This is a
cake. I got that K.
exclusive.
Let me cake it. I got that K. Let me cake it. What's your drink? Let me cake it. What's your drink?